Okay, so let's start with the definition of a family holding company, right? It's simply a legal entity that doesn't run the day-to-day business. Its job is just to own stuff that does run the businesses. So think of it as a parent, right, on a family tree of entities. The parent owns all the various property LLCs, maybe your operating company if you have your own business. It could possibly even own a brokerage LLC or private notes that you may have. And that all these little separate LLCs that are owned by the parent, they're the ones that are actually doing the things. They're the ones collecting the rents, dealing with the tenants, holding the brokerage accounts, signing contracts, selling stuff out of the actual business, hiring employees. But it's not the family holding company, right? The family holding company, as I stated, it's just the owner of stuff. So let me just show you right here what I'm talking about. So we have this holding company right down here. And as I stated, it could be owning all these other various companies. So maybe this is real estate right here. Maybe you've got an active business over here. So this is my business LLC. And they're all held down here like this in this one company. So let me just give you a simple example of how this might work, okay? So you get a sense for why the wealthy use this type of structure. So let's say we have two clients, all right? We have this client right down here. We're going to call him John. All right, so John has a portfolio. Let's say he's been investing for 20 years. He owns property in 3 different states. He has a contracting business and he has a brokerage account, right? And so he's got each of these properties, okay, in separate limited liability companies. So he set them up in separate LLCs and they're in different states. And then he has his business over here. Okay, so here's his business right here. And then he has his brokerage account that's in his own name. So here's his trading account right down here. And all of this is owned by John. Now, going forwards, let's say that, all this points back to them. He has a wife and 2 children that he leaves behind. So when John passes away, okay, he has his wife here and 2 kids. How do they assume control of all of these assets? What does that look like? Well, I'll tell you what it looks like. First off, the spouse has to figure out where all this is. And you might be thinking, well, maybe John's been telling his wife the whole time and she's been involved with it. Possibly. In my experience, most of the time, you have one person on the business side in the family that's running the investments and doing the business, and you have the other person in that relationship may not be actively involved in that. So there's a mismatch there. And then when the active person passes away, the survivor is left picking up the pieces and trying to figure out what's going on. Or if both of them pass away, then you have children who are now sniffing around trying to figure out where assets are located. And I've seen this many times with individuals that have come into our office seeking assistance, trying to figure out what their parents own. You see, so this can take a lot of time and a lot of legal fees to piece all this stuff together when you own assets in a disparate manner like this, not to mention probate. And that's why I'm going to show you how to clean this up even further here in just a moment. Now, let's say you have another person. All right, let's say we have Lisa over here. And Lisa was a little bit smarter about her situation. She saw the benefit of this, and so she created that holding company. So here's her LLC. Let's say she did an LLC in Wyoming for its asset protection, of course. And she has similar assets, right? We'll do the exact same asset mix there. Okay, so she has her business, she has her 3 rental LLCs, all owned by this holding company. And let's assume she had $500,000 in her brokerage account, also in that Wyoming LLC. Normally, I would say stick it in a separate one, owned by this, but we'll make it simple. Now, if she were to pass away, okay, her revocable living trust, of course, should own this. As I talked about earlier, we're going to go into that structure. Really, this should be owned by a living trust. All right, that's where you'd want to do it, just like this. Holds all this interest. Now, when she's alive, Lisa is the managing member of this, but she set this entity up here so that when she passes away, her 2 children that are down here will step in to become managers of this limited liability company. So now you don't have anybody trying to scramble around, trying to figure out where assets are located, trying to keep control going of the companies itself, because this company here owns all of these, can actually control them as well as its owner. So you have this continuity of control moving forwards. And the benefit of this structure as well is that if maybe this child here, maybe this child's a dentist and now he's being sued because of something somebody's alleging happened when he extracted a tooth and they've got all this infection going on. Well, if they're suing this child right here, any of the assets inside of this company are going to be protected from their creditors. So you're wrapping up all your assets in this nice little box. Think of it like a present with a bow on it, and you're passing along that one box. Whereas in John's case, what you're doing is you're passing along chaos. And if you have an estate tax issue and you set this up as a limited partnership, you're also making sure that your beneficiaries have more money in their pocket. Now, let's be honest, okay? You can absolutely mess this up. One of the biggest mistakes I see with these types of structures when people set them up is they think that this is their piggy bank and they just have money flowing in and out of it and they don't pay attention to the rules on how you need to either move money in or move money out of this type of entity. You see, a holding company offers a lot of benefit, but even though you set it up, you still have to set it up right with the proper type of operating agreement, and you have to treat it with the care and attention it requires, because if you don't, not only do you lose its asset protection, you also lose some of the tax planning that I discussed that could go into it should you be audited in the future. Okay, so the last thing I would say about these types of structures, I've seen people overly complicated as well from day one. They like to create, 5 different classes of interest, 3 different types of trusts, voting and non-voting units, and waterfall provisions that definitely would confuse any Wall Street analyst, even though the entire portfolio is only 2 rentals and 1 small business. Listen, complexity can be built into this, and so it really depends on where you're at. And the nice thing about building this type of holding company and putting this in place now is it can grow with you. So as the complexity in your investing portfolio, when your life continues to increase, then you can go back and dynamically change this agreement over time. So you don't have to shut anything down. You just redraft a new agreement and restate it. That then will make sure it's in compliant with the complexity that you're facing at that point in time with your overall structure. Hey, a family holding company is the premier entity that the wealthy families use to pass on their assets. If you've got assets and you're looking, hey, how can I set these up the best way to make sure my family's not going to have a ton of headaches and we're going to have the taxes reduced on the estate planning side and make sure that control is consolidated and we're protected, you ought to look at this. And the state that I like to set these up in, I've mentioned it a few times, I always like to set them up in Wyoming. I think that's one of the cleanest, best states to create this type of structure. And if you'd like our assistance in helping explore how this can help you in your individual situation, go into the show notes. I have a free strategy link there. You just click on the link, set up a free strategy session with us. Like I said, 45 minutes, we'll sit down with you. Someone from my firm will look at your situation and we'll show you, hey, based on your assets, how you can structure all this to make sure you can get the benefits that I described in this video. If you like the video, be sure to hit the like button. And I wish you the very best with your investing.